normally wait a little longer, give everyone a chance to kind of filter in, but I'm like raring to go. Hey, I went live! Hey, Twitch wants you to know that I am live now, even though I've been up for a couple of minutes. Hey, we're live now. Hi, Bunno. Hold on, I realize my captions aren't on. Fuck! They're on now. Hi, Bunno. Hi, Travis. Hi, Emmy. Hi, Luna. Luna, thank you for the contribution to the Sinner Sandwich. You absolute badass. Always remembering that that's a thing. Hold on, trying to move things around because I may have rushed the start of stream. I was busy doing stuff. I think most of you know that. But it's okay, we're here now. Just an hour late, then it's fine. We might stream a little later than normal. Who knows? Bunno, thank you for the contribution as well. Sandwich. Wow, my caption got that extremely wrong. How's everyone doing? How's it going? How are things? I am sweating. It is very hot up here. Emmy, thank you for the contribution as well. Y'all really just want me to eat this goddamn sandwich. I keep saying it, but like this is the fastest that we've ever gotten through one of these challenges. I mean, we still have a little ways off, but getting done so quick. So dang quick. We're gonna do a quick grip it and rip it. Are you ready? Are you ready? Grip it and rip it. We are going to do more Tiny Bunny tonight. I was kind of hoping that we would get through chapter 3 tonight. We still might, but we might not, depending, since we are starting an hour late. I might stream a little later than we normally do as well. We shall see. But yeah, I hope everyone's doing great. I hope things are going well. Emmy, remind me to send you that therapy thing later, because I only just remembered it because I just looked at it. And I meant to send it to you earlier, and then I forgot. So remind me. Thank you. I want to send it to you, because I like it. It's a good idea. But I keep forgetting. So yeah, welcome in. I think we're just gonna, like, kind of hop right into it. It's Tiny Bunny time. Time for Tiny Bunny. Time to do the Tiny Bunny thing. Tiny Bunny time? Tiny Bunny time. Time to Tiny Bunny. Game is launching. Give me a second. There it goes. Alright. Game capture. Let's go. Game capture. I guess I should probably also have my volume mixer open as well. Where is it? Where is it hiding? Why is it hiding? There, found it. Last time we almost got naked in a forest. We found a goat man. Well, I guess goat man found us, technically. Things were spooky and scary, and it's gonna be fine. Owl showed up. That's what happened at the very end. An owl showed up. The spooky owl showed up in our room and gave us back our glasses because they were very nice. They're nice, owl. Owl. Who? And Baburin, our bully, went missing. There it goes. I have water, I have soda. I don't have a blanket because it's too hot. I do have, hold on, sorry. I just wanna... Lamia is all snuggled up over here. This is just where she lives now? What does this sound? Hags. Hi, Hags. Thank you for the follow, friend. Speaking of Lamia, she just lives on this couch now. This is where she is. Well, hello there. Long time no see. But yeah, we're gonna... Spooky stuff is happening. Baburin is missing. And, yeah. That's about all I got. Like I said, I have water, I have soda, I think I have everything that I need for us to start, so I think we're just gonna kind of hop into it. We usually wait a little longer, than this, but I'm just, like, ready to go. Have you checked your tooth plug? Skeet up, bada, tooth plug? Or as Emmy pointed out to us earlier, gulp toot? Have you checked your gulp toot either? Boof. I simultaneously love and hate gulp toot. Gulpin' and tootin' and tootin' and gulpin'. Please. Gulpin' while pootin'? Oh no. Okay, let me know, as per usual, if there's any issues with the game sound. Please, 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 let me know. This game is so weird about its sound. Not quite as weird as Deadly Premonition is, but it's still wacky. But I'm just gonna start reading, and y'all can deal with it, and yeah. He's the one who hated Baburin! You think he did it? I've heard he's a weirdo. The warm farewells Rumka and Biasha shouted at the back of fleeing Semyon echoed inside my head. I'll cut your throat, you hear? Porky! Children are terrible, by the way. Was Rumka serious about his threats? Would he chase his former friend deep into the forest and then what? Right, Hags, you haven't been here before, have you? We play spooky games on my channel. I do have content warnings for every single game that we play, because it's important to know what kind of content we might be seeing. This game is spooky. It is a visual novel, so it's just me reading. It's all reading, all the time. But yeah, you said you had to get up like super duper early in the morning. Go to sleep. Thanks for stopping in and saying hi, and also for the follow. I need to remember that you stream as well and catch you at some point while you're streaming, and also follow you. So I'm gonna make a note to myself because I'm terrible at remembering things. But we love you, Hags. Honestly. Honestly. Sleep well and we'll see you later, friend. Also, Sam. Hi, Sam. And Smiley. Hi, Smiley. Hi, friend. Did you like that picture I sent you earlier? It's more where that came from. Sorry. I'm so sorry that I sent that to you. I'm glad it was as harmless as it was, but it's, how many friends can you tell? How many friends can you say that you have accidentally sent a, potential plushy dick pic to? Whoopsies. But hey, Smiley, how's it going? How are you doing, friend? It's true. Sent Smiley a dick pic. I have been considering moving Richard. His name is Richard, because of course it is. I've been thinking about moving Richard out here just so he sits in the background with John. Whoopsies. It's fine. How much of this visual novel do you think we're gonna get through tonight? Richard, John, and Big Brian. Okay, that's it. I'm gonna get Richard. Richard! Here he is. Here's the boy. He's very washed out, because why wouldn't he be? Why did I cover Wellington's amazing pecs? Because I needed someplace to put my Smiley blanket. Right? What a nice mushroom lad. Look at him. He's very soft. And we love him. I'll uncover. There you go. There's his pecs. It's fine. I love ya. What if Richard or Big Brian? Please, John, your head is in the way. There you go. Okay, Wellington, my giant pillow pet over here, Has very nice pecs. It's a great place to nestle yourself into. Warm yourself upon his bosom. Big Brian on Richard. Look at him. I like how they're both, like, both sets of plushes are visible past my shoulders. Reminder, we're spooky cute here. we love plushies. I even have some spooky cute plushies. It's great. Alright. I am gonna start reading again. If we're not feeling this tonight, we can always just do something else too, though. Yeah, spooky cute with the occasional dick pic. It's fine. It's not fine. Reminder, don't send dick pics without consent. Reminder. But it's okay. Smiley and I are just that close. It's fine. Yeah, right? Consensual dick pics only. Hi, Allie. I love you. Look! Even if it's a plushie, I take consent seriously here, okay? I felt uncomfy sending a picture of my dick plush to you without your permission. Okay? It's fine. I'm gonna start reading again. We're gonna change the mood very quickly, because kill him just like that? No, that can't be right. I hurriedly rubbed my glasses. The glasses. Semyon was clutching them in his fist while trying to escape the barrage of kicks and slaps from his friends. Former friends by now. And in just a couple of hours, this lost item was lying on the edge of my window. It was hard to imagine that Sioma suddenly got a guilty conscience and returned my glasses in such a strange way. I was shocked, but kept walking toward the classroom, accompanied by nasty whispers all around me. The photo still stood before my eyes. Semyon has gone missing. Semyon was gone. His fat fingers will never get to my throat. His signet ring won't smash into my chin. He'll never humiliate me again. Wasn't that what I wished for? On the other hand, did I really wish Semyon to become a murky stain on the notice board? He was still someone's son, or grandson, and he went through the same struggles as me. Did I really wish for my unseen companion to dispatch him in such a brutal fashion? Yes. I didn't know the answer, or I was just scared of it. Nonetheless, school still had something nice about it. Not this again. Polina, the girl with the violin, was like a mountain spring, like well water that you gulp down, pressing your lips against the zinc outer ring of a bucket. Can't ever get enough of. Literally taking thirsty to a very literal level. Buddy, come on. What if I make her one of the characters in the story I'll draw? The protagonist will save her from terrifying monsters. As soon as I thought of monsters, a bunch of my classmates slid down the rails, smirking like the xenomorphs from The Alien. Right, you're like 12. Child, please. I immediately felt larva of fear writhe in my stomach. I didn't want to cross paths with Romka and Biasha after what happened yesterday, especially since Semyon suddenly went missing. Bye, Polina. Child, I understand that it feels like this is true love, but you've got hormones, you're horny, just leave the kid alone. Just leave the poor girl alone. I entered the classroom and went toward the last row. All of the chatter suddenly died down, so I walked there in complete silence. It felt like my classmates pushed and poked me with their stares. They carefully observed my every move. I stared at the desk with a huge pile of library textbooks on top, my fists clenched. It felt like I was the one who disappeared in that snowy forest, and my desk was finally used for something worthwhile. Semyon's empty chair stood in front of me. The chair that once belonged to Vova was gathering dust somewhere in another classroom. Can I look at other things? Can I look at these posters? I looked at the portraits of classical writers. My eyes stopped on Essenen's photo. Last year, I was tasked with learning any poem, and Dad suggested I learn about the dog Jim, written by Essenine. I don't remember all the stanzas by now, but the last one was somehow deeply ingrained in my memory. I'm sure she'll come here, in my absence. Please catch her eye. Go kiss her hand for me. For all my real or fancied errors asking forgiveness of her in humility. Alright, kid. Listen. An old, cheap slide projector. I called this model a tank because it looked like one. There was a time when I had a lot of cool fairy tales that we used to watch with Dad in complete darkness. I remember Little Raccoon and One Who Sits in the Pond, Kipling's Mowgli, and many others. I was immediately swept away by the memory of the projector's hum, of its hot casing, of its bright rays hitting the wall, turning it into a screen. It's a pity that the school's slides were mostly about minerals and PSAs. What other things can I look at? These. Every boy my age I knew had something like this in his arsenal. Powder firecrackers that blew up with a very loud sound. Why? Why? Children, please. Especially inside an archway. It said that they're produced in China and that a single one of them can blow your fingers off if you light it up and clutch it in your hand. Especially the Black Corsair type. They won't be enough to blow up plastic soldiers, but when it comes to stuff made of plaster, they should work. Why are we blowing things up? My goodness. After a moment of hesitation, I sat down at Baburin's desk, the place where I was supposed to be assigned by Lilia Pavlovna at first. The chatter resumed as if someone just unpaused a movie. Baburin's grandma made such a fuss when he didn't return home. First, she ran to the school, then called the cops. Yes, yes, yes. Da-da-da. Katya snuck a cunning glance at me, then leaned into her neighbor and whispered something. She's like gonna chomp her ear off, my god. Girls from the second row also leaned in. She shared something with them too. Whispers. Nods. Kept catching her stare on myself. Her neighbor stared too. The whole class was watching me. It was like they felt the need to watch me because they were searching for traces of blood on my fingers. I wanted to defend myself and shout, "Guys, listen, I'm innocent." Romka gave me a heavy, worried look. He was probably as stunned by Semyon's disappearance as everybody else. I'm so sorry. Yeah, no, there's a lot of... So I think the devs of this game are Russian. It was originally written in Russian. It takes place in Russia. There's a lot of Russian, and I'm going to do a very, very bad job at reading most of it. Just as a heads up. But then he directed his stares straight at my face. Felt like he was about to point his fingers at me and shout at the top of his lungs. Hi, Fruity. Thank you for the contribution to the center sandwich. It's true, we do have Kimmerl to at least tell us what the proper pronunciation is for important things. Everyone look! Baburin snatched his glasses yesterday, and now he has them back. Murderer. But he remained silent, as if there was nothing special at all about my glasses. Right, I'm trying to figure out a way to, like, throw it up onto, onto the screen, just to, like, remind people, even if it doesn't necessarily show, like, the progress of it. And I'm always very bad at reminding people that things are happening as well. But Smiley and Allie, thank you for the contribution to the center sandwich. I may be going mad, but I think Romka knows something. He knows something, but he won't tell me what. But it was also possible he didn't care at all, just like everyone else. Then Romka shifted his eyebrows in suspicion and stared at Katya, as if informing her that he didn't believe a word she said. I wanted to believe that Romka would take my side, and Vyasha, who sat sprawled in his chair with his chin pressed against the table too. But they were silent. A terrifying thought flashed in my mind. Those two could easily betray me, push me off the cliff. Sam, thank you for the contribution too. I'm very excited about this sandwich. I just need you all to know. Just like they did with Semyon. As if looking for protection, I clutched the ruler until my hand hurt. You don't have to be Columbo to solve this. Who held a grudge against Baburin? Who hit him yesterday? Bullied him, and then... Metal ruler fell out of my weak fingers, hit the floor with a jingle, and that made the other kids shudder. Katya bit her tongue and squirmed nervously. Chairs scraped against the floor. My classmates moved away from me, closer to the exit, toward the teacher's desk. I was not the only one to catch wind of that change. Rumka and Biasha looked around and winced in contempt. It's good that they were clearly on my side. Oh, shut it. I bet you Baburin just got a whipping from his old hag and ran off. They'll find him soon. They'll find him, all right. In a ravine, with his stomach cut open. I gulped. Oh, excuse you. I imagine Sioma on a snowy blanket, his face, white like a fish belly, split down the middle by the crevice of his mouth, snowflakes falling on his glassy eyes and filling up his throat. Katya's now a valley girl! Oh my god. Alright, Katya's a valley girl. Hell. See? I can almost hear his condescending tone. It's all your fault. Of course, Semyon did me a favor by disappearing. Thanks to him, my classmates now stared at me in awe. But that was only one side of the coin. What if I'll have to repay that favor soon? The door creaked. Polina entered the classroom. I straightened up in a hurry so she wouldn't see me looking like a scared critter. Polina found me with her eyes, gave me a short nod, and went to her seat. Katya rushed to her neighbors again, like a lab rat that saw a treat, and started whispering, switching her gaze between me and Polina. Messages on pieces of paper started jumping around the classroom. Of course, Katya doesn't say anything right now. I'm sure she will show back up. The ringer's trill announced the start of the class. Alright, stop messing around. Class, stand up. You too, Petrov. Lilia Pavlovna went to her desk, followed by a policeman in a uniform. Hold on just a second. This is very quiet for me, but that's because I have a hat on. Lilia Pavlovna went to her desk, followed by a policeman in a uniform. It was the man that visited us just recently, tall and his stare so sharp you could get cut on it. Hello there, kids. Hi. You can sit down, kids. This is Senior Lieutenant Konstantin Vladimirovich Tikhonov. He's going to ask you a couple of questions and give you a small PSA. Class livened up. Talking to a policeman was way better than studying. I, on the other hand, was ready to sit through hundreds of hours of Russian literature just to escape the lieutenant's oppressive stare. His brown eyes felt around the classroom, looking for me. Hair stood on the back of my neck, and an icicle had lodged in my gut. Is it true that Baburin got killed by a serial killer? Russian literature is just, like, extremely depressing and dark, isn't it? But, like, not even in the, I was gonna say in the good way. What little Russian literature that I have read has just been, like, miserable. As somebody who likes literature that is miserable. As someone who really enjoys just depressing, sad literature, Russian lit is a lot. Yeah, everything is bad and then you die. Boof. Yeah, no thank you. I'll pass on the Russian lit. Shush, Ekaterina. Let the adults ask questions here. We're all scared. Maybe the killer is somewhere close? Convoluted, depressing, over-described, and then you die, and so does everyone around you. Sounds about right. Maybe they're even sitting among us. Her sly stare was directed at me. There's a good noise. I thought that was just in stage plays. Tikhonov stepped in between the rows of desks and started walking at an excruciatingly slow pace, brushing his fingers against the chairs he passed by. Some of the students almost broke their necks following his movements. That's how a crowd of commoners would gleefully anticipate a public execution in the Middle Ages. It's fair. And he just walked, getting closer and closer to me. I gritted my teeth to stop myself from screaming. Calm down. Breathe. You didn't kill or kidnap anyone. He already knew the answer to his question, but the policeman still asked in a stern voice.
Petrov Anton?
Anton Petrov?
Да.
Yes?
Встань, Петров.
Standoff Petrov? My muscles turned to stone. I got up, unglued myself from the chair. Felt like I could hear all my joints creak in the process. I only wished that Polina wouldn't turn around and see the grimace of horror on my face. If only I could be somewhere far away, in the forest, digging myself into a snow pile, rolling up into a ball there. The officer stared at me as if as if he was about to lock a pair of handcuffs on my wrists. Wonder how cold these bracelets are to the touch. I imagined myself getting jailed and put into a juvenile detention center where tens of Semyons would constantly harass me.
Я ничего не знаю. Я тут
I
ни
don't
при
know
чём.
anything. I have nothing to do with this.
А тебя никто и не обвиняет.
Nobody is accusing you of anything.
Пока что.
For now. Only then I noticed a file that said case number in his hand. It had a gray cover made from rough carton. It flopped onto the desk like a guillotine blade that slid down on someone's neck. With a measured motion, Tikhonov opened the file, still studying me with his gaze. Is the love child of Draco and Harry? Oh no! Get it out of here!
Ты с Семеном
Do not
Бабуриным
want.
общался?
Have you talked to Semyon Baburin
Я
before?
знал его всего один
I
день.
only knew him for a day.
Все знают.
Sorry.
Ненавидели.
Everyone knows that Petrov hated him. He turned red. You ugly bitch. I wanted to sink my teeth into Katya's face and chew out her cheek. That is not normal, child. Listen here, kid. Instead, I replied with the calmest voice I could muster.
Мы повздорили вчера.
We had a fight yesterday,
Но он первый начал.
but he started it,
Я его ударил.
so I hit him.
Сильно?
How hard did you hit him?
Да нет.
Not that hard. I mean... I waved my hand indecisively. Tikhonov looked at my fist as if he was surprised that I managed to hit the big kid from the photo. Surprisingly, Lilia Pavlovna came to my rescue.
Бабурин проблемный подросток.
Baburin is a
Чего
troubled teen, a true pain in the rear,
Сам ко всем
always
лез.
picking fights with other kids. The officer replied with a meaningful nod and fished out a notebook out of the file. Uh-oh.
Это твое?
Is this yours? I averted my gaze. It was a math notebook with my name on it. My classmates devoured me greedily with their eyes. Felt like even the writers on the portraits squinted at me in suspicion.
Моё.
Yes.
В лесу нашли.
We found it in the forest.
Там же тракторист,
In the
что
area
снег
where the
убирал,
tractor
в
driver
последний
who was
раз
plowing
видел
snow there
Бабурина.
last saw Baburin. I started blinking in bewilderment. Rumka ransacked my school bag. This notebook probably just got lost somewhere in the bushes. The lieutenant knew about the school brawl, but was he aware of the fight in the forest clearing? I had witnesses that could testify to Semyon and I walking in different directions after that. I looked toward the boys helpfully. Rumka, who sat behind Tikhonov, put a finger to his lips. And when the officer quickly turned around, he pretended to pick on his nose. I deciphered his signal. Boys like Rumka would probably say something like, snitches get stitches in a situation like this. Frantically fixed my glasses. Wait, Semyon took them away yesterday, but now they're...
Так что ты делал вчера в
So what were
лесу,
you doing in
Антон?
the forest yesterday, Anton?
Я в школу через лес
I
хожу.
go to school through the forest.
Могла выпасть
It could have
легко.
easily fallen out of my bag. Hi, Mama! Easily, just like me producing this half-truth.
Будь осторожнее.
Careful out there. Before I could realize whether it was a genuine piece of advice or a veiled threat, the teacher
Class.
said,
А сейчас лейтенант
Class, the
расскажет о
officer will now
правилах,
tell you
которые
about
вам
some rules you
необходимо
should follow.
соблюдать.
Так мы
So
не
the killer does exist.
Пока мы ничего
We can't
вам
make any of
сказать
this
не
public
можем.
for now. Rumka swayed in his chair and gave me a thumbs up. Attaboy, good job keeping your trap shut. I nodded, even though I didn't feel a shred of pride from his praise. Oh, sorry, clicking on stuff. I need most games to have a cursor lock. Please and thank you. After all, he was the one who threw my notebooks and textbooks into the snow. He was the one ordering Semyon, despite changing his allegiance later. I love you too, Siam. We'll see you later. I do have this series up on YouTube if you want to check out the earlier ones. But take care and we'll see you later, friend. Have a good night.
Но есть преступник или нет, вы
I'll
должны
send you the
четко помнить
playlist
о
later if you
собственной
want.
безопасности.
Whether the criminal really exists or not, you should be mindful of your safety. Hold on. What are you doing, baby? Mama? You stomping? Hi, kitten. She has vaguely remembered that she's a cat again. Hi. What are you doing? You want some treats? She's been sleeping all day and is like has gotten up a couple of times, but she's like fully wandering around right now. Hi. Do you want some snacks? Where did I put? They're over here. Hi. Yeah. Feeling better. We'll just throw those all out for you. So you can have some if you want. Hi, Devo. It is always alarming. Nah, she woke up super easy. But she has been sleeping all day and is now just kind of like milling about. So I wanted to give her some treats. Those are for you, buddy. Out! Domo, out! Sorry, hold on. Out, 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 out. Get going. Bye, Mo. When did it's like, when did I turn my bedroom light on? It's when I went to go get Richard. I remember. Okay. Whether the criminal really exists or not, you should be mindful of your safety.
Вас бережет милиция.
The police, your
Вас
parents, and your
обитают
teachers
родители и
all watch
учителя.
over you, but no
Но
one,
в первую очередь
no one
защищать
guard,
себя должны вы
no one
сами.
can guard you better than you yourself.
Итак,
All right.
кто там что хотел
Any
узнать?
questions? A stockade of arms rose from the desks. Kids shouted over each other, swarming the policemen with questions. In an attempt to calm down that chorus, he moved toward the blackboard. The gray file was left lying in front of me. I stared at it, my breath so ragged that it might have looked, or that it might have looked like someone who just ran a 100-meter sprint, sorry. Proofreading while also reading at the same time. Like I said, I really like the descriptors in this game, and overall, just like, it flows really, really well. There are a couple of times, though. There's some spelling errors, some minor translation issues. Get yourself a translator. Get yourself a localizer. Beads of sweat rolled down my back. I looked around the classroom. My classmates were catching the officer's every word. Only Romka was saying something to Biasha. Lilia Pavlovna was staring into the window, fighting back yawns.
Объявлять комендантский час причин по...
I just wanted to touch the file! As soon as I touched the folder, Tikhonov slashed at me with his eyes. My hand instinctively moved away, as if that stare actually hurt. The officer just kept staring at me without saying a word, making me squirm under the weight of his uncomfortable silence and the sneering looks of my classmates. And then he suddenly continued his speech as if nothing had ever happened. Am I supposed to, like, wait until he has, like, his back turned? Oh, shit. Nobody paid me any mind, so I slowly opened the file. My fingers started sifting through the documents. Ksenia Talaleva. 6 years old. Left her home sometime in December. Identifying features. Okay. My heart almost jumped out from my rib cage. A round-faced girl no older than Olia smiled at me from the photo. The first victim of a serial killer? The first child to disappear in the forest without a trace. I turned another page. Vladimir Matyukin. I remember this one vaguely. 10 years old. Vova was the second. His mitten hanging from the branch. His name called out by desperate adults and repeated by the sneering echo. Lilia Pavlovna coughed, trying to calm down the rowdy students. I yanked my hand away and the file closed.
Теперь поговорим о диких животных. Как известно, в наших лесах водятся волки, медведи, лисы.
Cleaned my teeth from surprise, pushed myself back into the chair. into the back of my chair, blinking in bewilderment. You had your back to me. The officer silently gathered the documents and gave me a stern look.
Больно ты любопытный.
Well, aren't you a curious boy, Petrov?
И еще раз.
Got the achievement caught napping? What is that? I missed the policeman's speech. That's fine. Let me say this again. If you see anyone suspicious in the village, be it near the school or on the forest trail, contact the police immediately. You know our number, right? 02.
Спасибо, ребята.
Thanks for listening, boys and girls.
Спасибо, Лилия Павловна.
Thank you, Lilia Pavlovna. And, we'll find your classmate. Yeah, right. A thought flashed through my mind. Dig through enough ditches and maybe you'll be able to piece them together. Who's number 1? The world may never know. Like Legos. Thought turned evil for some reason. I couldn't control them. I tried to switch to the lieutenant's speech about suspicious individuals. What if I saw the killer before? What if I was a hair's breadth away from them? Suspicious people, Don't call me. I'm not gonna answer. That's not true. I would. For you guys, I would. Not for any of these people in this game, though. How suspicious was the fox girl that wandered into the darkness? A weirdo that always appears out of nowhere and then dissolves into thin air with her riddles and rhymes. Could she really harm the hulking Semyon? Should I tell the officer about her? Not even Olya. Okay, maybe for Olya. Probably only for Olya. Everyone else can get wrecked. What if lives of other kids depend on us? Of the cute, Ksenia and Vova, too. Wait, what if I got mocked for speaking out? What if they'll start whispering behind my back, or what's even worse, think that I'm insane? Romka gave me a stern look over the shoulder. Doubt someone like him would approve of cooperating with the police. Katya's braid dangled nervously behind the delinquent sitting in front of me. My hand was glued to the
До
desk.
свидания, лейтенант.
Tikhonov was saying goodbye to Lilia Pavlovna. He was about to leave. It'll be too late soon. Ooh, hold on. I'm gonna go ahead and save. But I'm not gonna talk to the cops. Fuck the police. No way! I've had enough of humiliation. But also, all cops are bastards. We're not gonna talk to them. Keep my head down like a bunny. I locked my fingers and zipped my mouth. The bell rang. Lilia Pavlovna passed by without looking my way. Polina left after her. My classmates went silent at the same time, as if somebody muted the sound on a TV. They followed me with their eyes the whole time I was passing between the rows. Judgmental looks. Felt like I was in the scopes of many sniper rifles. I squeezed through the barricade made of desks, looking for Polina. But instead I stumbled into my new buddies. Sorry, his jacket says, "Abidos." Romka and Biasha were waiting for me at the notice board.
Я в тебе не ошибся, Тошик.
I was right about you, Toshik.
Пацан.
Attaboy, he didn't rat us out. You know, us roughing up Porky. This would have given the police a false lead. Hold on, is the sound okay? It looks like it's like super quiet. Like the music is very quiet. Hopefully it's fine. I think it's fairly quiet. Okay. It's so hard to get the sounds right in this one just because the jump scares are so loud. Is that better? Or is it still just very quiet? It's good music. Better? Okay. I'll turn it up just a smidge more. Try it there. Alright.
А вы точно не имеете
Are you
отношения
sure you
к
have nothing to do with poor
Семёна?
Semyon's disappearance?
Мы-то
Which means I
нет.
can turn it down here for me. No, but what about you?
Помнишь, как срулила
Remember how
нас
you
по
bailed
тёмке?
out on us in the darkness?
Ага, я так и говорю.
Yeah, I was
Ах,
like,
Гарик,
this
привет.
Four Eyes is a beast!
Я верну на огонь, ты
We'll
год,
catch
да.
up with the fatso and end him, eh?
Базар.
What he said.
Однако мы тебе
But we believe you. Works both ways, right? Rumka's stern look made me uncomfortable, so I nodded.
Вот ты
Good to
славный.
hear. Rumka lowered his voice and looked around the corridor in suspicion. The other kids were stealing glances at us, whispering.
Что ж,
So,
Сёма
Sioma
пропал.
is missing, that's a fact.
Как и факт,
Not just
что он
missing, but
просто
most
пропал.
likely already dead.
Скорее-
Vyasha shuddered.
А ты почем знаешь?
How do you know that?
Так
Because
мы за это уже
we already talked
тёрли.
about this.
Здесь
It's not the
такие
first
случаи
time
не
this has
впервой.
happened.
Думаешь, Сенечка, Вова этот и
Think
Сёма в
Sinechka,
Нарнию попал?
Vova, and Sioma went to Narnia,
Посидят в лесу,
and they'll return from the
с
forest
карамелькой
after
за щекой и
hanging
назад
out there,
пришлют.
sucking on some candy?
Ясно же, кто
It's
их
clear who
собирал.
got them.
Неужели черный?
Can it be the black...
Маничела!
The serial killer!
Бля, буду пацаны.
Sure as fuck,
Это
guys.
всё
It's the
местный
local Chikatilo. Oh, I know this guy. I think I'm familiar with him. He was a cannibal and he murdered like a bunch of kids. Yeah, serial killer and cannibal. Not me coming through with my serial killer knowledge. He was fucking brutal. Would not recommend looking him up if you don't know who he is or don't have a, you know, can't handle that kind of stuff. He is not one of my bulls. I have Gacy, who else do I have? I have Warnos, Gacy, Fish. I have Albert Fish, who was also a cannibal, and primarily attacked children. And is it Dahmer? I have Dahmer, I think. And maybe, why can't I think of his name? Bundy. I think those are the 5 that I have. No, because I have Geen in there too. All of mine are more or less American serial killers. Yeah, those are the big Americans. I don't think I have any internationals. I would love to get more serial killer cereal bowls though. I love my serial killer cereal bowls. Eee.
Вычислить бы еще, кто он такой.
If only we could find out who he is.
Ну, если это
Well, if that
придётся
killer off
так
Baburin, he'll
называть,
come after us too.
Что же делать?
What do we do now?
Вместе держаться.
Stay
вот
together,
что.
that's what.
Втроём
3 of us are
мы,
like
как
Voltron,
Вольтрон.
are we?
Это...
Could think about it. I'll think about it.
В Вольтроне их
For all that
много.
cottage cheese I don't eat. I don't like cottage cheese. It's gross. I don't dig it. You know, my serial killer cereal goals. Bowls, as in things you put generally food into. I was gonna say, I definitely don't use my cereal bowls for cereal. As we've discussed, I also don't like cereal. There were 5 of them in Voltron, eh?
Ну, считай, мы
Well, we're an
покалечили
injured
Вольтрон.
Voltron then. He looked at me with an adult gaze and nodded. His eyes were full of worry and sadness.
Ладно,
Whatever. Since Yoma's no longer with us, let's go.
айда, дело есть.
We have a job to do. You'll keep watch for us. Everybody seems to be scared shitless of you. Scared shitless? Of me? Well, I still couldn't wrap all that around my head. Their attitude softened me up, and I agreed on the spot. Rough, don't let them up. My goals are Bundy, Casey, and Dahmer. No goals. 0 goals. Also, reminder, don't idolize serial killers. I have a fascination with their crimes and the psychology behind their crimes. With 0, absolute condemnation for everything that they did, because Jesus Christ. This is a general reminder. As somebody who really likes true crime and stuff like that, there are way too many people who are into true crime who like the gross stuff. I do remember you said that I think you had studied for a bit, at least in criminology, which is absolutely fascinating. I was planning on going to school for, to be a medical examiner, so I could do, like, post-mortem forensic autopsies and stuff like that. But, I don't know how that's going anymore. It's fine. I got a fascination with that stuff. It's neat. I just think it's neat. We walked pompously like heroes of some criminal drama, as if the three of us had access to some knowledge hidden from everybody else. But that's a really neat, like, field to go into. Lots of interesting stuff. I'm not sure I would have gone with them if they told me what the goal of our campaign was. We hid in the darkness near the school gym, and my companions started rubbing their knuckles, watching boys leave the dressing room. Yeah, that's fair. Which is also, like, a problem in and of itself. I think it's, obviously not in every case, but so many of those cases, definitely, like, I don't know, there needs to be more emphasis and focus on the mental health side of things. Which, again, is not to say that people who are mentally ill are more likely to be serial killers or commit crimes or anything, because that's bullshit, and we all know it. But also, there's a lot of that is untreated and could have been avoided had we just done something. We hid in the darkness near the school gym, and my companions started rubbing their knuckles, watching boys leave the dressing room. Finally, Vyasha pointed at someone inside the crowd. Who's that sucker? I am not going to participate in this. If you make me bully a kid, I will walk away. Rumka smiled dangerously and proclaimed in a low voice, "Keep watch. If you see a teacher, let us know. Watch with all four eyes, eh?" Stood at the corner, filled with conflicting feelings and thoughts. In a cul-de-sac behind me, Romka was having a back and forth with some 5th grader. The boy was protesting on the verge of tears, but Romka stood his ground, spewing countless obscenities at him, with Vyasha occasionally adding a couple of words of his own. Would Dad praise me for involving myself with this? Alright, now scram! Absolutely not. You should tell your friends that they suck, and also not be friends with them anymore. Just saying. My new friends came out of the cul-de-sac. A light bulb illuminated the camera in Romka's hands. Wow, a Polaroid. Is it yours? Romka shook the black electronics marvel with a retractable flash, disinterested. It is now. There was this guy who owed me a bike for talking shit. Turned out he didn't have one. So he paid with the cam. And I have jack shit use for it. Felt bad for that boy, but all the negative thoughts disappeared when I looked at the treasured camera. Oh no. Could clearly imagine how happy Olya would be with the Polaroid. I imagine myself taking pictures of my sister, dad, and mom. Hi, Nem! I can do a hydrate for ya. Reminder, everyone in chat, also do a hydrate. Staying hydrated is important. Also, hold on a second. When did chat get so tiny? Oh, it's because I moved this around. That's why. It's not that chat got small, it's that my video moved. Okay, well, it's fixed now. And also, thank you for the contribution to the Sinner Sandwich, Nem. How's it going? How are you doing, friend? I decided to put ice in my water bottle earlier this morning, and now it's like freezing cold, and I love it. Is she acclimating well? Is the new kitten acclimating to everything? Kittens are a lot! I could clearly imagine how happy Olya would be with this Polaroid. I imagine myself taking pictures of my sister, dad, and mom. Good, I'm glad. She's gonna have a lot of energy for a number of months. And then hopefully she chills out a little bit. I could oh wait, I've read that like 3 times now, I'm sorry. Faces of my family would gradually appear on the hard paper as if emerging from the dissolving mist. I take pictures of Polina too. That way I'd be able to get her photo for myself. Keep it at my desk, under lock and key. Now we're being weird. Great,
Раз он тебе не
Anton,
нужен,
please.
можешь мне его
If
отдать?
you don't need it, can I get it? Roma measured me with a sharp glare, turning into the Romka I met yesterday. The callous leader of a carnivorous pack. Sorry, bro, but I don't throw away things like that. I can drop it at a pawn shop or bet it on some game. Right? Don't take pictures without people's consent. Today is just a lesson in consent, it seems. For some reason, as soon as he mentioned a game, I remembered Elisa. I looked at the Polaroid.
Давай с тобой на него
Well, let's play for it then. Do you have a game in mind? Yasha snickered into his fist. Oh, Romka, should we make Antoshka lose his shirt? Do I look like someone who'd strip another dude to you? Romka stared at me from above. What do you have to bet? Do you even have cash? That's right. What's in your pockets, Toshik? Slowly turned the pockets out of my pants, I turned the pockets of my pants inside out, in vain hopes of salvaging at least some change for my lunch money. Something rustled in my pocket. I fished out the Mercedes-Benz insert I got thanks to Elisa. Guess I shoved it there without thinking when it flew out of my school bag with all the notebooks. Will you play for this insert? Yasha's eyes almost popped out of their sockets as soon as I brought the car's picture closer, but Romka didn't move a muscle. Want me to bet a whole camp for some insert? That's... The gum is worth 1 ruble, and this Polaroid has a fresh cartridge inside. Look, that's... I have a shit ton of inserts like that. Why would I want Mercedes-Benz, eh? The one we're still missing, Romka?
Блин.
Romka spit on the ground and slapped Yasha over the back of the head. Why can't you keep your mouth shut? Now he'll jack up the price. Just like I suspected, this automobile was a valuable addition for every turbo gum collector.
Ага, значит, появился интерес.
So this caught your eye after all?
Что будем играть?
What are we going to play?
Подкидного?
Siege Durek?
Ножички?
Mumblety Peg! You've made these up. These aren't real things. In the blink of an eye, a greasy deck of most likely marked cards appeared in Vyasha's hands, and Romka masterfully swung his butterfly knife in front of my nose. I had no desire to play by their rules.
Давайте камень ножницы.
Let's play rock, paper, scissors. Oh, I see, you're a gambler. Durek is real, but you've played it, okay. That sounds fake, though. Mumblety Tuck! Or whatever it was. I'm still not entirely sure Durek is real, but I'll believe you. I'll believe you for now. Alright, my Polaroid against your Mercedes. Deal. Oh no. Oh no. We're going to do this until we win. I need you to understand that, so we'll start here. Scissors. Paper. Fuck.
Красавчик!
Those sounds, though. Romka and Vyasha started cackling when I lost. Nice one, Romka. Toshik, you never stood a chance, eh? As sad as I was to be left with nothing in the end, I held out the answer to the boys. Wait, it was a one try? Dad always said that a card dead is sacred. And it still said true here, even without the cards. Okay, excuse me. I thought it was like 2 out of 3. We're gonna try again. Yes, I'm sure. I'm not gonna lose to these fuckers. This is rigged!
Красавчик!
It's rigged! Am I just like not allowed? I hate the sounds that they are making so much. Am I not allowed to win? Is that what's happening here? We did it. Yes! I raised my fist towards the ceiling in triumph. Wait. We do it best of 5 here? You piece of shit. Why didn't you say that earlier? Did you think it'd be so easy? What's up with the pouting face? You already have the advantage here. Let's continue. 1, 2, 3. gonna win. Right? These boys are shits. Okay. So paper's it! Just do paper! I looked at my opponent with suspicion. So, do I win now? Or do I need to beat Biasha too? Ronka mumbled something under his breath. Probably refused to play by the rules, and I'll be left with nothing. Hey, Ronka won fair and square, eh? I got the achievement. Humble in victory. Ronka reluctantly gave up. For one lucky bastard here. Just don't take pictures of your wiener. I weighed the Polaroid on my palms and realized that I was smirking. Like a true winner. Dick pics! Don't do it. Don't do it. It's been 7 days since the lieutenant visited our class. At first glance, everything was still the same. The forest still held out its gnarly claws toward the village, and the wind whipped up white flags weaved from powdery snow every night. When my parents argued in the other room, I would turn up the TV's volume and to silence their muffled voices and sit close to Olya. Vovo's and Semyon's photos were still 2 black spots on the notice board, and round-faced Senya, who hasn't returned home yet. Two completely unrelated comments, I promise. You're good at Durek, the card game, or was it good at rock paper scissors? But something did change. I could see how different the looks of my classmates were. He's good at rock paper scissors. It's because he's a math wizard. They made my pockets bulge with gifted apples. Their animosity was gone. School wasn't scary anymore. But most importantly, a shadow slid across my desk, leaving behind a mysterious note. Glanced into the space between rows, but the messenger was already nowhere to be found. Welcome back, Emmy. Who sent me this note? What could this carefully ripped out and neatly folded piece of paper be hiding from me? More threats and humiliation, or... I took the piece of paper and carefully inhaled the wafting aroma. Blackberry. Inside was a message of beautiful handwriting. I'm waiting at a dead end near the dressing room. Come alone. 50% of the time you'll win every time. Drunk on that sudden call, I immediately started walking, looking over my shoulder from time to time, making sure nobody is following me. I don't trust this child. Didn't even notice how I almost broke into a run and jumped around the corner. As soon as I did that, I rammed into somebody inside the dark nook. Ow! Like a magic bird, a green notebook glided to my feet. Polina puffed her cheeks in exaggerated anger. Petrov, have you lost your sight completely? Fixed my glasses. Nearsightedness wasn't that embarrassing anymore. I bent down and picked up the notebook. Sorry, I was in a rush. Were you waiting for me? Did something happen? Polina studied me with her eyes and clicked her tongue. Do you know what you look like, Antosha? Like blues improv. I blinked in bewilderment. Are you okay? What do you mean? I always associate people I know with something. I do that too, but why music? Oh, I understand. Can't be anything other than music. Some people are like guitar solos, some are drums. People like Lilia Pavlovna are war marches. And you're so thoughtful, so mysterious, sometimes even a bit sad. You're definitely blues. And what about the improv part? It's when the listener has no idea where the melody will go, what tempo it will adopt. Of course, some of the things Polina said went completely over my head, but I couldn't stop looking at her smile, light like a breeze in May, and her eyes, deep and blue. Please stop, I hate this. One needs to have experience and taste to recognize the music in you. You're not some pop song. You're also like 12. I don't think I even know what blues is. Lena gasped and frowned, which made her look even more beautiful. Don't say something like that to my face. I'll make sure to give you a cassette. Grandpa used to bring me so much music from the city. Jazz, swing, and classical too. Child plays too much Call of Duty and watches too many soap operas. Oh no. No 12-year-old is this good with words. For real. I don't trust Polina. At all. That is an important part of development. I don't know, Fruity. I don't know. He was the one who noticed my musical mindset. When I was still very little, I tried recording the sounds of nature on paper. Songs of the rain and the forest. I wish I had ears like yours. And I'd love to have your eyes. Give me your eyes. Give me your eyes. Tensed up, worried that she was making fun of me, but Polina shook her head. Go sleep. Go lay down. No, I'm serious. You have the eyes of an artist. You're so good at picturing things. I can't do that. This is literally, this is what happened in Get Out. She's gonna try and steal our brain. This is not great. Ew! Katya walked past us with her trademark frosty glare. We dove into the shadows, trying to escape it. You understand why we're hiding here, right? Because of people like her. Has everyone considered going to sleep? And what kind of melody is Katya? Polina flashed me a sly smile. The squeaking sound of unoiled door hinges. You know, this nasty deskin? I giggled, covering my mouth. Katya didn't hear our whispers, but she suddenly glanced over her shoulder, clearly annoyed. A moment later, she sighed and went her way. You got this, Allie. You got this. You're gonna get it done, then you're gonna go home. And you're gonna do a good rest. Sorry, Lamia has... I don't know if you can see her. Her face is buried in the blanket. Mama? Hi, Evo. What a goober. Hi! What are you doing? I remembered about the notebook I was still clutching in my hand. I turned it in my hands. Instead of a subject name, the front side had the name of the owner in 2 words. Friends only. Curiosity killed the cat, you know. I'm sorry, is this a questionnaire? Have you ever filled one? I lied that I had. In reality, girl classmates from my previous school had never asked me to fill their questionnaires. It was quite upsetting. I mean, it was a girl hobby. You just answer a set of standard questions about your favorite actors and colors, but entrusting someone with such a notebook was the sign of friendship. And maybe of something even more. Something I only had a vague idea about. You can fill in mine if you want. My heartbeat quickened. I do, thank you. Polina giggled. Actually, there are so many secrets there. You'd be better off not knowing what we girls think. She reached for the notebook, playing with me? I tossed my finding into my free hand. Polina tried to intercept my move. What? I am having a hard time understanding what this is trying to say. I don't like this. Her hair briefly touched my face, tickling my nose with its silky locks. I sensed an aroma that immediately filled the whole world. Fragrant, alluring, lively. We are 12 and I am uncomfortable. If only I could picture it, steal it for myself. I felt dizzy, but I gathered myself and spoke in a voice reminiscent of Lieutenant Tikhonov. I think toying with me, that makes more sense. You're right. Again, localization. It's important. Your questionnaire is an important piece of evidence, so I'm afraid I have to confiscate it for further examination. Polina covered her mouth that rounded in fake horror. What are the implications of concealing evidence? We'll decide that in the course of our investigation. Okay, so we're a cop. and worse than we suck. Anton sucks. I surrender, Mr. Policeman.
Spooky, scary skeletons and shivers down your spine.
Yeah.
Shrieking skulls will shock your soul, seal your doom tonight.
Thank you, Bono. Just promise you won't read anything. It's full of sensitive information. I'm afraid I'll have to investigate whether someone is in love with Mr. Petrov. Polina burst out laughing and pressed herself against my chest, showering me with the aroma of her hair and her milky skin that looked almost transparent, with tiny threads of veins running under it. I don't like this. Her whisper was hot, like a piece of butter sizzling on a pan. Then swear that you'll keep this information private. I swear on my police badge. You're Derek, P.I., Maximum Derek! And now we need to hurry, Antosha. I hate this. I hate this so much. I took up the notebook during class. With utmost care, as if it was some sort of fragile treasure. But maybe someone will get it. Maybe someone will understand. Skimmed through it, reading into other people's preferences. I was quite surprised to discover Rumka's jerky handwriting inside. His letters bulged out of the cells as if embarrassed by their shapelessness. Rumka, 6B... Shafutinsky? February, hanging out, buying a BMW. Not Stallone, but Schwarzenegger. Don't trust, don't fret, don't ask. DuckTales! Sometimes you just read a line and you know how it's supposed to be delivered. I got you. Fearsome Ronka found time for something so silly. Chuckled into my fist after I found out that Ronka's favorite cartoon is not even Darkwing Duck, but DuckTales. Somewhere in the distance, a teacher was reciting pieces of Andreev's Snapper. Paid them no mind. Polina's page was decorated with flower drawings and clippings from the Cool Girl magazine. Not Cool Girl. 6B, Franz Schubert. My birthday. Listening, see the world. Robert Schumann. Losing the people I love. Town musician of Bremen. Grandpa. DuckTales and Darkwing Duck are both amazing. Honestly, though. Her favorite musician is Schubert. Her best friend is her grandpa. Her hobby is not violin, like I expected, but a much more mysterious listening. Can such a mundane process really be someone's hobby? I looked at Polina over the heads of other students. She was focused on taking notes. Flipped the pages until I found a blank one and armed myself with a pen. Not the S's. Not the extended S's! Anton Petrov, class 6B. It took a long time to decide on my favorite musician until a trendy pop band, Carman, came to mind with the cool dancers in their music videos. The S is universal. Long, cool S. We all, regardless of your background, your history, your language, your origin, we all understand S. Favorite holiday? This one's easy. New Year's. My hobby is drawing. My dream, going to Disneyland, I guess. My hero, hand moved on its own, writing da. Stopped on those two letters. What if those who read this after me will find my answer laughable and stupid? After thinking for a bit, I decided that not everything should be disclosed on paper. Okay, but listen. If your dad is cool, your dad is cool. Not all dads are cool. If you got a cool dad, and your dad is your hero, that's fucking dope. As somebody with an extremely goofy but wonderful dad. That's how Da turned into Spy-Dar, man. Spelling was wrong, but who cares? Yeah, Fruity, did you make the S in your youth? Of course he did. Your biggest fear, huh? I immediately wrote, losing a person who's dear to me. Your phone number. No secret here. 30395. Your favorite cartoon. Transformers. Your best friend. I hesitated, gnawing on the pen's cap. I remembered Lisa, gliding behind the trees, laughing enthusiastically from the shadows. Hadn't seen her in a week, and it even made me worried. After all, she was the one who stopped the colossus of a monster that wanders the forest in the night from tearing me to bits. I mentioned a masked girl to Romka and Biasha before, but they just gave me weird looks. I wonder what she's up to right now. Your best friend. I read the question out loud. It was easy, but at the same time very important. My answer consisted of 3 letters, and I filled them in the cells with care. You. Isn't it where you put... You dot it instead of doing lines? Right? You, I repeated when running out of the school. Refreshing frosty air made my cheeks turn beet red. It was bright outside and the sun looked like a whole egg yolk. The road looked as if it was silvered. Snow sparkled under the sunlight. I smiled, squinting from the blinding whiteness. There was also something magical in my chest that beckoned me. Because friendship can grow into something bigger. Look at the happy face, Tosha! Swallowed my smile and turned red. I just remembered a joke. Biasha was shuffling his feet in the middle of the yard, his boots restless on the ice. Share it with me, eh? I rummaged through my memory and blurted out a random joke I heard today in the cafeteria. Why did the chewing gum cross the road? It was stuck to the chicken's foot. Not the drums! I see Petrosian. Hold on. What is that? Soviet and Russian stand-up comic, colloquially known as the king of humorous remakes and dad jokes. Yes. Yes, we did. Let's go, eh? He walked toward the school's corner without waiting for me. I hesitantly tagged along. Where are we going? You'll see. We're now in one pack, so we move together. You'll need to help us with some small business. I don't wanna... Felt chills run all over my body. Didn't like the sound of that small business. Those words, accompanied by spitting, normally had very dark deeds underneath them. Strangers that used to call our old apartment used to say, "Get your old man, we have a small business to discuss." I think we have film in our camera. I think our camera's good to go. Biasha turned around. He looked like an astronaut in this tight hood. More! Always more! Oh, whoops, hold on. What did that say? If I were to imagine him as a sound, he'd be a deafening whistle, a signal given by someone who stands watch. My knees started shaking as soon as I thought that I was about to be dragged into something shady. Oh yeah, no! Our dad. Images flashed before my eyes. Tuganov's strict gaze as he shuts the prison cell door on me, my father hitting the bars in anger, Mom and Olya crying nearby. To my demise, there was nobody at the backyard. Apart from the grim-faced Rumka. He stood there, his feet wide apart, with his right hand hidden behind his back. He must be holding a knife, the steel butterfly of death that flies toward a person's heartbeat. Rumka's dry lips were tightly pursed. Shooting glances at me as he looked around. What's going on? He's gonna fucking stab you for that camera. It was as if Romka read and announced my thoughts. What's going on? Nothing much. We're out for a walk, eh? Biasha's voice sounded nasty, snarky. Walk some other way. We like it here, right, baby? Excuse me? Baby? Is he talking to me? I was so bewildered I wasn't able to squeeze out a single sound in reply. Just watched the bizarre scene, played out in front of me by my new problematic friends. Look, you scared her. What do you care, shithead? Fuck off while you still can, eh? I was trying to digest what I just heard. Did Biasha really call Romka a shithead? Is he out of his mind? Guys? Biasha ignored my weak protest and stepped toward Roma, swung at him in a weird, comical manner. Romka blocked the punch with his free hand, keeping his right hand behind his back. actors in Indian films that my mom loves fight more convincingly. Vyasha started weeping even though I hadn't seen Rumka hitting him. Oh, 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 it hurts! I have a concussion now! Rumka kicked him in the knee and Vyasha fell to the ground, sighing and moaning. And I stared at the approaching Rumka without blinking. His elbow was twitching and his hand crawled from behind his back. I grew roots into the asphalt. Blade will shine in front of me. Here it comes. Rumka yanked his hand from behind his back. My teeth chattered from fear. A bouquet of snowdrops that appeared out of nowhere in this freezing weather swayed in front of my face. What's this? Flowers? Let me escort you. You know, there are all sorts of creeps snooping around here. What the fuck is happening right now? What's wrong with innocent creeps doing a bit of snooping about, hey? Make for a shitty creep, Vyasha. Even Toha here was not phased. Should definitely see through our act. Words finally returned to me. She? Who is she? What's going on here? Rumka snorted, blowing snowflakes off the flowers. Small rehearsal, bro. Wanted to see your reaction. Vyasha stood up and brushed himself off. Rumka here is head over heels for a chick. Even dug up these flowers from somewhere, eh? Shut your trap. I'm just planning a little pickup. Like staging a performance for her. She's so damn unapproachable, you see. She'll be just walking outside and then a shithead like him starts bothering her. Vyasha grumbled upset. I'm not a shithead. And here's where I come in and BAM! Save her. But Vyasha turned out to be a shit actor. How about you become the creep? Me? Yeah, you. Saw it on TV. Serial killers are always these silent, shy types. Just like you. But thanks to Katya's gossip, the whole school thinks, you were the one to off with Burin. Come on, Toha. Felt relieved. Nothing criminal, just a scene for a girl. What do I need to do? You saw Vyasha's antics, no? Is it gonna be Polina? We're gonna go bother Polina? Came at me all brave. Can even punch me in the stomach. And I'm like, ha! And you fly into the snow pile. Well, let's give it a try. Roma livened up. Nice. Vyasha, change of plans. You're a little girly now. The eyelashes, though! Walk. Vyasha started dragging his feet along the schoolyard, grimacing. I'm a girly. A pretty girly. I'm on a walk. Your move, Toha. I went toward Rumka, fighting an urge to smile. He had his hand again and put on a stern expression. 5-star actor. She's mine. Let me see you try. Oh shit! And I tried. Threw a punch in the direction of my friend. My knuckles barely grazed his leather coat, and Rumka suddenly fell. Okay. Not for my laughable poke, of course, but because he slipped on ice. Flopped on his back with his full weight, without a chance to get his hand out of the way. His flowers are gonna be squished, he's gonna be very mad at us, and we're gonna get the shit kicked out of us. Petals from the squashed flowers were left on the snow. I rushed to help. Fuck! Wait, don't pull! Did you break anything? Roma was carefully working his wrist. Nah, probably just a bruise. I should put some ice against it. I'd rather put your moronic head against the wall. And smack it as hard as I can. Rumka was already laughing as he got up and gathered the flowers. Okay, we're good. Well, if I go flying in front of that chick, I might as well forget about her. Let's give it another go. Rumka shook his head. In evening, when my hand gets better, I don't want to fuck up in front of the school's first violin. Did I not say? All right. I stumbled mid-word. Switch flipped in my head. It all made sense now. I remembered Rumka constantly sneaking glances at Polina. I remembered his scrawly handwriting in the questionnaire. Why didn't I study it more in depth? Felt like somebody hit me over the head with a giant hammer, making me sink into the ground. Polina, she was the main character of this play, directed by Rumka, and I landed the role of the third wheel. Mumbled hesitantly. Alright. Now that's what I'm talking about. Just like Voltron's team. One for all. And all on one. Shut it. If you ever need help, Toha, you can count on me. See ya. We'll visit you in the evening. The aftertaste of horrible water I drank down my meds with lingered in my mouth. My thoughts were focused on Polina, but the play where I was assigned the role of a villain was also on my mind. I wandered around the house, feeling intoxicated, and nodded to everything my sister said without trying to discern her words. Olya was talking nonstop, at times lifting up her arms and laughing, only to then suddenly go quiet and give my mom's signature gnarly look. I was yanked out of the prison of my own mind, where seething thoughts pecked at my brain like harpies, stopping me from coming back to reality. Stared back. Olya looked like a mini version of her mom right now. Well, to be precise, she looked like the person Mom turned into when we moved here, with her intimidating posture and her eyebrows directed toward the ceiling. You weren't listening to me, were you? She tried spitting out those words at me, copying facial expressions of the person she spent almost all of her free time with. For a moment, I felt like the light Olya exuded all these years waned and wavered in the wind of prolonged changes. Very soon, my beautiful princess will turn into the dragon that was once guarding her prison tower. That thought was much scarier to me than any other horror sneaking up to me from the future. I'm sorry, Olya. I didn't want to make you mad. I just got lost in thought. I looked around the room, my gaze jumping from one object to another like a hungry beast, trying to find anything that could distract Olya. Let's play the console. Olya pouted, but there was a spark of interest in her small emerald eyes. The Snow Queen's ice shard inside them started thawing. And what about the second controller? It's not working. And Dad has no time to fix it. We can play with a light gun. What do you want to play? Cowboys? Ducks? You're better than me at both. Oh, come on. We must have been practicing the whole time I was away from home. Olya burst out laughing. Her heart was warm once again. How did you know? But I'm a good shooter now. You've already lost. You picked the wrong fight here. Come on, turn it on. What's going on here? Little Olya jumped toward the TV set and after flicking the power switch, started blindly feeling around the backside of the photon, trying to plug the console's cable into the antenna input. Bits of TV shows started flashing on the CRT screen. When I armed myself with the remote to look for the channel, with the sought-after Dundee signal, also these movie screens. Did anything interesting happen at home? It was a mundane question for me. I didn't put any actual meaning behind it. But Olya's expression suddenly changed. She lost all of the childish nonchalantness she worked so hard to acquire before. What happened, Olya? My sister managed to put the cable in its place and started brushing off her dust-covered hand. She was clearly looking for the courage to continue the conversation. Mom, she... Why is Bruce Lee fighting the wet bandits? Have you not seen that movie? Come on, it's real good. Olya went silent. For a moment, I thought I saw tears welling up in her eyes. She had this scary thing happen to her again. My sister looked at me with wet eyes. That'll be the next horror fest. She had a fit, huh? This had happened before, but it was a rare occasion. Now that we moved to this godforsaken place, Mom's fits rose in frequency. Dad brought home a big fish. Oh god. Why is it moving? Excuse me. It was wrapped in newspaper and had a foul smell. Mom got angry again and then she took a knife. Olya squirmed, looking fearfully out of the window. We started screaming at each other. I froze, imagining my little sister so small and unnoticeable, standing in the kitchen doorway. She wasn't even trying to hide. Her parents just paid her no mind at all. And then Mom struck with her fist? Struck with her fist? Like this? Olya silently moved her fist downward, imitating a strike. She hit the fish. It was still alive, Tosha. It must have been in pain, and Mom! It was easy to imagine what happened next. The writhing fish with a blade between its fins squirted some foul-smelling musk into Mom's face. Whenever death got this close to my mom, be it with when a person was hit by a bus in front of us and their blood was smeared all over the windshield, that's a lot to just kind of drop all of a sudden. Or when Grandma chopped off a chicken's head, Mom would always get this into a weird, dreadful fit. Her eyes would roll over, she would fall on her face like a freshly cut tree and start writhing just like that agonizing fish, turning over chairs and blurting out bits of scary sentences, so she's having a seizure. Okay. What about Dad? Did he help her? Olya shuddered, as if just remembering it pained her. Yes, but at first... And also, yeah, I guess the bus thing, like... Their traffic laws are weird there. People have, like, dash cans and stuff like that just to, like, prove that they didn't do shit, didn't they? Because, like, things happen so often as far as, like, traffic is concerned in Russia, right? I feel like that's the only bit of Russian trivia I have. But at first, he started laughing, Tosha. He let out an evil laugh when he saw that Mom was in trouble. But then he cried. Olya's story made me raise my eyebrow. It seemed like the forest's oozing madness had not only completely consumed our mom, but also infected our strong and courageous dad. Jesus Christ. Quickly stepped toward Olya and locked her in a tight embrace. She dug her face into my chest, and I could feel my shirt becoming wet. Why are they bullying each other, Tosha? Are they crazy? I stuttered, unable to justify the actions of our parents. I had run out of words, and all I could do was hug Olya even tighter. Rude! Fucking rude! Olya screamed and hid behind me. Yeah, that was not great, and that was so fucking loud. This is what I mean by, like, the jump scares are... That was just a face in the word bad. I mean, yes. I'm so sorry. There's, like, no way for me to, like, control how loud the jump scares are. I have everything turned down, like, a fair amount. I'm so sorry, y'all. There are jump scares. It's in the content warnings. I'm sorry. Turn it off quick! No matter how many times she saw this intro, she would always react the same. Just like when she saw that owl. I mean, that's a fair reaction! Jesus! I mean, I also got goosebumps every time this ghastly face appeared on the screen, so I immediately complied with my sister's request. Can I not do anything else? We just play? Okay. Finally, the game selection screen showed up for the cartridge that was bundled with the console. Ugh, hiccups, sorry. Too bad most of the names here were just different levels of the same game. Picked up the gray rectangular controller and started looking around the pixel letters to find the familiar English word for duck. Background music from the menu soothed Olya's mind, and she asked in a calm voice, "How are things at school?" I made a couple of friends, I guess. Wow, a whole 2 of them. Lucky. Right, didn't you say you saw a fox? Yeah, her name is Elisa. I immediately felt uneasy when my new acquaintance was mentioned. How did you know? Did she tell you? Yes, when Mom and I were throwing out garbage. She also said that she saved you. Saved me? I remembered my fight with the delinquents in the forest and that mysterious whisper from the thicket. I remembered the fleeing Semyon and the horned giant tower above me with its outstretched hands. Lunnerball? I'm not gonna play Lunnerball. At that time, I could feel Elisa's unseen presence, as if she was watching me from behind the crooked trees, smile stuck to her ginger mask. Shuddered, chasing away the delusion. Did she say anything else? Fruity, please. Nuh-uh. Mom came back so fast. I wanted to introduce them, but the fox had already run away. I want to play. Also, there's Lunnerball and Lunnerball 1. I need you to know. I want to play Small B, please. Aren't you afraid of her? Why would I? Elisa is kind. She's so fluffy and pretty. Unlike that owl. Plug the light gun into the second controller port, listening to my sister's laughs. I go first. It's duck hunt time. Am I gonna have to play? Oh no. These X and 1 games have the same things on them? Like a million times. Beautiful. Oh no. How did those not hit? Okay, we've done it. It's fine. I guess I could probably, like, let my sister win, but also fuck that. I'm better at this than she is. Get good, Olya! Oh, never mind. We tied. Nice shot. I am gonna save real fast because I kind of want to let Olya win because she's precious and sweet. But also fuck Olya? Oh, come on. It's fine. Oh my god! Why are they so wiggly? We are a 12-year-old creeper with questionable taste in friends. I've done this. They're so wiggly. Boo, it's your fault I missed. Wait. Oh no, Olya's player 1, isn't she? Jesus Christ, Olya! I'm not gonna be able to do this. They're too fast. They're too wiggly. It's impossible. Oh my god. Good job, Olya. You won. Olya did it. Genuinely did it. It wasn't even me trying to throw the game. I got the achievement, big bro. You made your sister happy. That's fine. That's acceptable. Bing, bing, and they're dead. You've lost, Tosha. That's fine. You won fair and square. Good job, Olya. Holy shit. Sorry. That scared the fuck out of me. Jump scare barely got me. Our mom yelling for us? That did it. Sounded like it was, like, actually here, and I was not prepared for that. My mom only managed to get through to me on her 3rd attempt. Anton, there's a call for you. It's a girl. I sobered up in an instant and rushed to the hallway. Watch your step. Grabbed the phone, pressed it into my chest, looking at my mom. She shrugged and went into the room, gathering the toys thrown around by Olya as she went. Hello? Your mom has such a young voice. Well, yeah, I mean, she is young. Are you busy right now? No, of course not. If only she knew how costly this conversation could be for me, what risks I took on just answering this call. There were a pen and a shabby notepad lying on the nightstand. I picked them up and started moving the tip of the pen across paper, producing chaotic doodles that always ended up turning into hearts. I've read your answers. Do you really like Carman? I like Russian rock more, to be honest. But I was too embarrassed to put it there for some reason. And do you want me to be honest with you too, Antosha? Of course. My pen drew an outline of a girl's face, her eyes, her long eyelashes. Polina spoke in a hushed voice, probably to keep her grandpa from hearing. Bored to death here. At home? In the village. There's nothing going on here, and if there is, it's always something nasty. And it's not even about the missing kids. There's almost no music here. Don't you have your cassettes? I'm not talking about audio records. I mean, this place's voice. It's not melodic at all. It's rustling like a record player needle, just squeaks and moans from time to time. Feels uncomfortable, suffocating. I don't know how else to explain this. My pen's tip drafted a house surrounded by tall trees. I think I know what you mean. My little sister says that she feels like a prisoner here. Me too, but I love Grandpa. I don't want to abandon him. Sometimes I just want to escape so badly, somewhere very far away. Into the forest, I thought half-heartedly, to run under the falling snowflakes that make your fur white and the branches that hide you from prying eyes. When I draw, I feel like I'm transported to another place. It's the same for me and the violin. Run up the bow straight to the sky. I realized I was drawing a butterfly knife. Crossed it over. Thinking of Rumka ruined my mood. Should I tell her? Should I warn her about his plans to seduce her? I could throw a wrench into those plans. But what about our Voltron team? They may not be my best friends, but we're still buddies. Who would I become if I betrayed them? Gonna save real fast, but we're gonna tell Rumka to fuck off. We're gonna tell Polina. I'm assuming that this is telling Polina and this is being true to Rumka. So let's... Polina? Yes? I need to tell you something. I can betray the Voltron team. Fucking watch me. Rumka has asked me to, for a favor. Couldn't force out a sound. Words slipped and fell down my throat. Started wrapping the telephone wire around my finger from nervousness. They're not very nice people! Look, if the Voltron team was much cooler and much nicer, say, if the Voltron team was the Turbo team, then maybe I would hang out and do stuff, and like not betray them, but they're shit people. They're bullies and I hate them. They don't deserve to play Voltron. Yeah, maybe they play... Listen, Fruity. Listen, Fruity. These kids play Dota. And I know how you feel about Dota. I started wrapping the telephone wire around my finger from nervousness. Hello, Anton? I can't hear you. Read that loudly. Everyone in this village plays Dota. I think we can agree with that, except for Olya. Olya doesn't play Dota. Olya just plays Duck Hunt. Not Emperor Zarkon! Rumka's made me into a serial killer. Ringing silence took over the call. What? He asked me to attack you? Like I'm some monster. And he's supposed to show up and save you like a hero. Polina? She didn't respond, so I blew into the handset. And? Did you agree? The tone of her voice became serious, harsh. No, how could you think that? I told you the truth, remember? Rumka and Biasha, we can't be friends after something like this. Oh, Anton, thank you. I'm so glad to have you on my side. My heartbeat quickened. Anxious thoughts about losing Polina passed an imaginary torch to the thrill of meeting her very soon. Ew, I just got the achievement Muse. I understand how difficult it is for you to divulge something like this. You know, Grandpa always says that music can cure your soul. Do you want me to play something for you? Where? At school? No, silly, after school. Will you come over to my place? Dropped my pen, struggling to believe in what I just heard. I regret everything. Then I rushed to get it from under the nightstand and rammed my head into it. Of course. Why not? Tomorrow after school, then? A bump was slowly bubbling up on my forehead, but I almost didn't feel it. Doorbell rang before I could reply. Such a damp head bump, right, though? Juicy head bump. My wandering gaze stumbled upon the door. Rumka and Biasha came to pick me up for the rehearsal, and I was supposed to help them lure away the girl I like. I'll have to pretend that I'm on their side, for Polina's sake. Polina, wait a moment. I made a couple of steps and pressed myself into the door. There's probably a jump scare. I don't have any other option but to look. The light bulb hanging on the outside illuminated the porch, and I could discern two short silhouettes through the frozen peephole. Look what the cat dragged in. I know she's like a horrible monster person, but is Fox Lady definitely off the table? Hell no! I fucking love Elisa! If we can go hang out with Elisa all the time, that would be dope. I feel like the way that we talk about her is definitely more age appropriate as far as like being like, oh, a cute crush! I mean, absolutely grow up before we make romantic choices. Listen, I hate this. But I would much rather hang out with Elisa, because let's go be friends with the Fox Lady. Let's just go be friends with the Fox Lady. Look what the cat dragged in. Please wait, I'll be out in a moment. Fox Girl's a cool kid. Facts. I returned to the phone and picked up the handset. She honestly reminds me of me as a kid. Definitely questionable at times about the things that she's doing, but like, pretty alright. Pretty alright, child. I was the peer gremlin at, ages like 8 or so. I would lure children under the pier, because like I lived right by the ocean. I would go swimming there every single day, and I'd just like lead children under the pier so we could play games. It was definitely not great, but it was all harmless fun. Not dreary. I would love to play as Olya. Let's get Olya as a main character. Or as Elisa, that would also be great. No, it was all good fun. It was all fun times under the pier. I returned to the phone and picked up the handset. I need to run. Me too. Thanks for lending an ear. My ear vibrated from the buzzing sounds. I lowered the handset on the phone and snuck a peek at the staircase. We don't have to be the stinky man child. Yay! Lowered the handset on the phone and snuck a peek at the staircase. My mom, engrossed in her favorite TV show, didn't hear the ringer. I put on my shoes and hat without warning anyone and slipped into the dark winter evening. Things are gonna get spooky. It's gonna get spooky. Yeah, let's play as Fox Lady. Maybe occasionally switch over to Olya just so we can get a little spooked as opposed to causing the spooky things. And it would be great. Yes. I did a lot of very questionable, potentially extremely dangerous stuff as a child, but you know, it was all fun and games. Like the time that I convinced everyone to hop the fence at my elementary school despite the fact that it was the dead of winter. There was about 3 feet of snow outside, and we also had a bear and cougar problem. Like a mountain lion issue in our area. It was fine. No one died. No one got hurt. I blinked, getting used to the twilight. The wind plucked at my cheeks. Carried the cold, resinous smell of coniferous trees from the forest. Freezing air crackled somewhere in the field. 2 shadows loomed in front of the gate. I could only recognize them as my classmates because of their height. I walked toward the fence, listening to the howling wind and the squeaking snow. Definitely not here. It was when I was living in the mountains in California. One of the figures moved and slowly glided toward the thicket like an ice skater. I slowed down and touched my glasses, trying in vain to adjust my vision to the surrounding darkness. Worry landed on my shoulders like a weightless snowflake. A snake woke up in my belly and started writhing. I felt nauseous. Thought about home, the flimsy fortress behind my back. Mom and Olya were sitting on the 2nd floor of the warm house in front of the... Mom and Olya were sitting on the 2nd floor of the warm house in front of the TV, watching the adventures of characters in Santa Barbara. I really didn't want to be part of Romka's plan. What I wanted even less was going there, to be the place where a double shadow was wavering in the wind. It's not actually them. It's spooky forest kids. Why so slow, eh? We're freezing here. Vyasha's voice was trembling, and the restless Romka was letting out clouds of steam. He looked deep in thought, and in love. Freezing to the bone, eh? Move it! I'm going. Heaved a deep sigh and walked forward, kicking snow piles. Vyasha froze in place, facing the taiga. He was a hand's reach away, and I put my numb wrist on his shoulder for some reason. Probably to make sure it wasn't a dream. It's gonna be a jump scare. Oh, I hate that! Why is it like 3D? What the fuck? Pointy beak was directed at me, strewn with feathers that formed an owl face. Something wearing a bird mask was staring at me. Hoot, hoot, to the bone. The voice sounded exactly like Vyasha's, but there was somebody else hiding behind the feathers and cardboard. I sprinted away as if somebody whipped me. A second. I'm gonna turn all that down just a little bit. Not Saimu! Saimu, how could you betray us like this? Masked creature only pretended to be Vyasha. They wanted to lure me out. I was running like crazy, drowning in snow. This is extremely rude because we do need to go back and thank that owl for getting us our glasses back. was running like crazy, drowning in snow. The house in front of me was rapidly growing. The yellow light in its windows granted me hope. My mom and sister were there, my salvation. Couldn't hear anything from behind me, as if nobody was chasing me. Maybe it's because the owls can fly? I was already climbing the porch when I noticed another figure. From the soot-black shadow of my house, a scruffy wolf cub crawled out and stood in my way. Its movements were jerky, chaotic, as if it was performing some terrifying dance. Bark convulsing during a stroke. And even though I could clearly see that the wolf face was masked, something in the werewolf's convulsions made me freeze in place. It's just Lamia. I know it's a wolf, but this is just Lamia. This is what I'm greeted with every single night she decides to jump onto the fucking bed to, like, come snuggle me. It's just this. Drool and everything. The boy in a wolf's costume rubbed his side against the porch post and fell to his knees. He bent his back so hard that I expected his spine to crack. The beast's eyes shone, but he didn't attack. He kept crawling around and running on all fours. Shifted my feet, my mouth agape, trying to keep him in my line of sight. Something was trickling from the slit in the mask. Viscous drops fell to the wooden planks. Saliva. Some unknown force pushed me in the back, whispering me to save myself. The fence was flashing by the edge of my vision. Was that a bear? It was running, in another direction this time, toward the toothy edge of the forest that smelled of pine. My heartbeat measured it. The wolf would growl behind my back as if he forgot his human nature. I'm not gonna growl. My right leg gets stuck in the snow-laden cavity. I yanked it out, cursing into my breath, and fell to the ground. Plastering snow prevented me from standing up, from propping myself against anything. But my unbound thirst for life helped me get out of that trap. Darkness was creeping closer, like the toxic fumes of burial pyres. I ran again, gasping for air that stung my throat. My hair swayed in the wind. I lost my hat when I fell down, and my ears were now hot from the freezing cold while most of my body was still sweaty. The field finally ended. After realizing that running into the forest wasn't the smartest decision I could make, I dove into the line of trees. I ran without stopping, my face covered with one of my palms. No, honestly, that one I do get. When it gets super cold, it does end up, sometimes it feels like your body's burning up. I get that one. Normally I would make fun of weird descriptions like that, but that one makes sense. Right? And then like whatever well, it's not even just like your ears, but like whatever body part is like particularly cold, it tries to like overcompensate for it, and then it just feels like it feels like your body is on fire. You will understand. I didn't want to lose an eye to some random branch. This is also one reason why people who are suffering from hypothermia will like rip their clothes off and stuff, because while they're technically freezing, they feel like their body is burning up. It's a weird phenomena. Your brain recognizes that there's an extreme temperature, but doesn't necessarily know which temperature it is, and so just like panics and sends your brain all sorts of weird, you know, signals. Thought that was like a thing people die right before they die, or they did right before they die. I mean, sometimes, but it's still like there's still like before like hypothermia. I mean, the stripping thing tends to happen with hypothermia specifically. But yeah, no, your body like doesn't necessarily know how to differentiate between like the extreme temperatures, and so like if you get really, really cold, sometimes you'll feel like you're really hot. It's weird. Brains are fucking weird. Anyway. Branches whipped my clothes, pricked my skin like butchers that were herding a pig into the grinder. A knot of roots sprouting from the ground grabbed at my feet. I rammed into the scratchy trunk, slid down to its base, and looked around in a panic. Elisa! Phew, you're fast. My first desire was to dash toward her and hug her. I resisted it and squeezed myself even tighter into the pine. What are you doing here? This and that. She gave us our hat back. She was holding the hat I lost. Working part-time in Lost and Found. Put it on or your ears will freeze and maybe even fall off soon. She giggled. I squinted in suspicion and shifted my gaze back and forth between her and the hat, scared that Elisa might be holding a severed head or something even more sinister. But in the end, my hat turned out to be just my hat. Tink. I took it and pulled it over my forehead. Feeling warmer? I didn't reply. We are the bunny. There were some children in the yard. And did they bite you or something? No. Then why did you run away? The answer was obvious, but after rolling the thought on my tongue, I mumbled. I don't know. Why did I promise to never call you a dunce again? Oh well, I keep my promises. She walked up to me and grabbed me by the elbow. I sensed the familiar aroma of mint, oranges, and burnt sparklers. Also, tiny is a state of mind, not a physical state of being. I wanted to lean into Alice to savor the, do you mean Alyssa? To savor the minute details of her smell. How many times do I need to tell you? You're safe as long as you're with me. I'm your friend. And they are too. I quickly turned around toward the place the fox girl was pointing to. Kids in masks appeared at the clearing. At least they looked like kids since they were all pretty short. Oh god. A wolf boy, an owl girl, and a bear boy. They all huffed and gasped for air, clearly tired from running around. Thought you fell through the snow. Started digging around, but couldn't find you. And I didn't. Didn't care enough. You see, if you're dumb, you run around and dig. And if you're smart, you wait until the others get tired of running around and digging. Then you start talking. You're a rat. Degenerate. Huh? Don't mind him. He's a weirdo. Stood there stupefied, my mouth agape and my hands dangling helplessly. I love our friends. I love animal friends. I had no idea how to react to the words of these late-night guests, but I managed to squeeze out something resembling a smile. You just scared me, that's all. I love them. I'm not a fan of the human teeth inside the bear, but I do love our weird forest children. We have a new Voltron gang, and you know what? We actually have 5 this time. So we've got a proper Voltron gang. They started looking at each other, and somebody even snorted, as if I said something funny. Yes, the fox is right. He's the one. What happened to your hand, buddy? Are these the missing children? No, this is our... Have we finally found him? Our bunny. Yes, he looks the part. The wolf boy started wagging a part of his costume like it was his tail in excitement. First? Of course you were first. Wolfie here was the first to sense the bunny in you. He told us about you. Hello. And you've already met our Hootie here. She isn't that scary, is she? I guess. And this smiling big guy is Teddy. Be mindful with him or he'll chew off your hand. Or your head, excuse me. What? I see you've also dropped your sense of humor somewhere on the way. I was still unsure if these peculiar little animals had the best intentions in mind, so I hid my hands behind my back, trying to look away from the gaping holes of their carnival masks. Elisa put her hands to her side in a theatrical manner and somehow managed to wink with her fox face. The next time we come, we'll ring bells for you. That way you'll be less scared of our visit. Do we even have any bells? I won't be ringing. My paw hurts. Yeah, what happened to your hand, buddy? My smile was no longer fake. Bron!
Bran Merrick is raiding with a party of 2.
Hi,
Kayshurrr and the
friends.
gang welcome you.
Welcome in, raiders! How's it going? How are we doing? Bran Merrick, thank you for the raid. I super duper appreciate it. Green Emerald, welcome in. Sleepy Evie crew, napping on through. Hi, friends! How are you? How is it going? Can we get a shout out for Bran? Bron? Bran? Preference? How should I refer to you as? You are also doing Tiny Bunny! Nice! Dope! Well, welcome in. Welcome in, buddies. How is it going? How are you doing? My name is Kaysh. You can call me Kayshurrr or Kaysh, whatever you prefer. I am a queer horror and mystery game streamer who like to play spooky stuff like Tiny Bunny here. Dope, wonderful. Brand, got it. But yeah, welcome in everyone. How are you enjoying it? Where in the game are you? Which chapter are you in? We are partway through chapter 3, which is the only reason I ask, because I don't want it to be spoilers for you if you're not quite this far. But if you are, welcome in. Welcome in regardless, I guess. Nice! Yeah, it's, I don't think many people are streaming it, honestly. But I'm glad that you found us and you came on over. Like I said, I pretty much, like, exclusively do horror and mystery games here. Especially indie horror. We very much love it. Ooh, that's a good part. That's a good part. Okay, yeah, like I said, we are on chapter 3, so we are very far in, comparatively. There may be some spoilers if you want to stick around. Otherwise, I totally understand if you don't. Oh, you've rated at some point since you were following me. I was gonna say, it didn't show up as, like, you being a first-time chatter. So maybe. Were you playing, fuck, what is that game? Thinking. I have no mouth and gonna dip out and head to bed so you don't get any spoils. Fair and understandable, but thank you for the raid. But yeah, were you playing I Have No Mouth and I Must Scream? Was that you? That might have been somebody else. Regardless, thank you for the raid. I really appreciate it. I think you raided during Fatal Frame. I think that's when it was happening, because I think you talked about potentially doing I Have No Mouth and I Must Scream. And I did stream Fatal Frame at some point. Okay, cool. I'm glad we figured it out. The weird things that my brain tends to hold on to. But no, understandable. Like I said, thank you for the raid. I really appreciate it. Get some good sleep. I hope that whenever it is that you get back to doing Tiny Bunny, you really enjoy it. It's been very good so far. We very much enjoyed it so far. That makes sense. I know we also try to look for people with similar games sometimes, but I think as of late we've just been rating people that we know. So many of our friends have like come back to start streaming, and it's been very nice. Yo, the werewolf bit. The jump scares in this started out really strong. There have been a couple that have felt a little cheap, but they've like been really good about building up the tension and stuff. I'm excited for you for when you get further into it. It's very good. But yeah, welcome in, Evie, or Emerald, sorry. It was an Evie raid. That's where I got that from. But Bran and Emerald, if you guys need to get going because you don't want spoilers or you got stuff you gotta take care of and do, totally understandable. I stream a lot. If you want to hang out with us sometime, either later tonight or, in the coming days, you are more than welcome to, but no pressure. No pressure. Yeah, music's so good. It's very good. It's a good game. But yeah, we're gonna continue on. We're reaching about the time that I usually call it. So we might, I'm trying to determine what's going on, because we haven't really done a proper indie horror stream on a Friday in a while. So we might just continue that and finish this on Friday. Thank you, Bran. Have a good night. I want to play a little bit longer to see what's going on, but we might finish this on Friday, and we might just do a short stream on Friday. If that sounds good for folks. I'm starting to get a little tired, and reading is not necessarily being a strong suit of mine anymore. But I want to finish this. I'm annoyed. I'm not annoyed. I don't want to say I'm annoyed that I started late. I didn't. It was for good reason. But that did kind of cut into Tiny Bunny time, which is fine. So yeah, I think that's going to be the general plan. We might read a little bit more, get to a good spot. Although this is kind of a good spot too. Fuck! Okay, that's what we're gonna do. We're gonna save. We're gonna save right here. And I think we're gonna end. I talked about going a little bit longer, but I have also just now hit a wall. So I think I'm gonna play my own dang video games. My off-stream video games. You gotta go home, Allie. It is 9 o'clock. Listen, it's 9 o'clock. And I love you. And I bet you've made some good progress on your thing. Does it have to be done tonight? Can you finish it up tomorrow? Consider. But yeah, I think we're gonna call it here. Because girl is tired. Where is my cursor? And why can I not find it? Okay. I mean, hold on. Why is it doing this? That's fine. Just a little bit, not a ton. Okay, listen. Just play a little bit, but not a lot. Or not play. Work. I need to go. Alrighty. Shall we find someone to raid? Shall we go hang out with someone new? The likelihood that anyone else is doing Tiny Bunny is non-existent. Absolutely no one else is. It was just Bran and me. We do have lots of friends on today, though. We have lots of friends on today. We gotta go say hi to Sam. I have made a choice. Sam is streaming. We gotta go say hi to Sam. Alright. Let me get the raid messages up. If people are gonna join us on the raid, there are our raid messages. The first one is for anyone. It's got global emotes on it. Otherwise, the second one is for subs. We're gonna go say hi to Sam because I love Sam, and Sam is a delight. And Sam is great and doing some Animal Crossing, which is always a good way to chill out post terror. I love you all. You're all fantastic and beautiful and wonderful and just lovely human beings. I will be back on Friday with I guess we'll be doing the usual stuff. We'll do some Witchwood in the afternoons, and then we'll finish up Tiny Bunny in the evening. It'll probably be a slightly shorter stream. I don't imagine we'll go for the full 3 hours. I could probably make or find an extra game to play, but I think we'll just keep it short on Friday. Until then, take care of yourselves. I love you. We'll see you later. Have a great rest of your night / time zone. Goodbye, friends.